Lesson 4, we're still talking about what to eat, but now we're going into liquid choices, because I talked in lesson 3 a lot about solid meals. So first class proteins, low energy plant matter, fruits and vegetables, good fats. Now, you might have looked at that and gone, wow, okay, so I know I need to make some changes with my food, and I know I need to start eating more metabolically precise meals in order to build a metabolism. But if you don't feel like you can eat a lot of food, so maybe your digestion's not working properly yet, or the food just makes you feel a bit full or a bit bloated, you can actually have liquid meals instead. So smoothies are a good opportunity for people who want to start increasing their nutrition compliancy, but can't necessarily eat all the food yet, or also just don't want to increase their calories. So we're going to talk about the correct liquid choices and how these can also program your metabolism for success. So it's not just what we eat, it's also what we drink. Anything that we consume is going to have an impact on our metabolism. Now here's the bad news. If you're juicing your food, you can very easily accidentally overconsume your calories. So if I use oranges as an example, if you took 6 oranges and you juiced them, it would be very easy to drink them all in one go. But then you would get a very, very big calorie spike. And because there's no protein and no good fat present, it's just a juice drink, it's not going to give you any satiety. So the satiety comes from the proteins and the fats. So if you're juicing your food, you might feel like you're being really healthy, but it's a very easy way of accidentally over-consuming calories. Whereas if you just took 6 oranges and you chopped them up, and instead of juicing them, you just tried to eat them, you'd be very, very full. You probably wouldn't be able to eat all 6 oranges, because when we juice them, we take all the fiber out. So the fiber is what helps us feel full. So a liquid meal will still have fruits and vegetables in it, but it's also going to have proteins and fats in it. So it not only gives you all the components that are going to help you build a metabolism, but it also helps you with fullness and satiety. Because if all your meals have fullness and satiety, then cravings naturally start to go away. It's easier to eat more of the right food, and then you're less likely to snack and pick and eat off the plan as well. So it becomes very easy to sustain that way. So a liquid meal is not a meal replacement. It's been blended in the blender, but it has all the points that are going to actually help you build a metabolism and make you feel nice and full without accidentally increasing the calories. So a liquid meal is designed to increase your meal frequency. In other words, more food, more fullness and satiety for less calories. They are not meant to replace whole foods though. So this is something that you might add in between your solid meals. So if you start feeling like you're getting hungrier sooner between meals, but you're not ready to eat more solid meals yet, this is something that you can add in to increase your nutrition compliancy, increase the amount of nutrients your body is receiving without feeling like you have to chew through lots of food. So the points for creating a metabolically precise liquid meal will be exactly the same as a solid meal. There's always going to be a source of first-class protein. More often than not, it's going to be protein powder, because it's the easiest thing to put in a liquid meal. Some people put in eggs, but I probably wouldn't recommend that, not for taste anyway. There will be a carbohydrate source. So we're talking about low energy carbohydrates, berries, strawberries, carrots, and celeries, things like that, flaxseed oil, flax meal. These meals are going to enhance results from exercise and improve recovery. Why? Because now you're able to increase your meal frequency. So we're not talking about eating more food. We're just talking about eating smaller meals more frequently. Why is it good to do that? Well, because every time you feed, your body goes through what we call a thermogenic process. So it actually heats itself up to metabolize the food. So the more often that your body goes through that process, the better. So you're actually better off having 4 or 5 small meals a day than 2 or 3 huge meals a day, because then you get the benefits of the thermogenic process, but also it helps your insulin remain stable as well. So if you ever have an insulin drop, and it would have happened to you before in the past where you've gone long periods without eating, you get cravings. When you get cravings, the last thing you want to do is have a healthy liquid meal. You want to eat chocolate, you want to eat cakes, you want to eat biscuits. So smaller meals more frequently actually make it much easier to sustain this stuff in the long term. And yes, I've given you lots of smoothie recipes that you can use. I think it's also important to look at what liquids you consume on a regular basis as well. 0-calorie beverages would be things like water, or you could have tea, green tea, hot green tea, cold green tea. Coke Zero is pretty much no calories. If it comes to things like soft drinks, store-bought smoothies, This is where you can accidentally start over consuming your calories on your liquid choices. So your food might be really good, but if you feel like your results are stalling, it might not be the food that you're eating. It might actually be what the liquid choices that you're consuming. Lattes and things like that, the calories start to add up very, very quickly. So in saying all that, it's really important now to start planning out your week. So make sure that you've got a good routine. When it comes to your food, it's very, very hard to execute feeding frequency if you're not planning and preparing in advance. So that will be things like identifying your staple recipes for the week. That's your solid meals and your liquid meals, writing down the ingredients of everything, having your shopping list ready to go, and then planning out the days where you're going to order your groceries, the days where you're going to food prep all your meals, making things in bulk so you spend less time in the kitchen and yet you get more bang for your buck. So if there's a recipe that you really like, rather than just making 2 or 3 serves, quadrupling the recipes and making heaps in one go. So it takes the same amount of time, but you get more bang for your buck, and you've got all those meals in the fridge. Some of them are in the freezer. So you always feel like you're prepared. You're always preparing for your worst day, not your best day. Because when things go wrong, you want to make sure that you've always got more there. So if for any reason you miss your day of food prep, do you have extra stuff in the freezer that you could just pull out? If we look at 5 steps to planning and preparing for your supermarket shop, number 1 is always going to be identify your staples for the week. So what are the meals that you can eat every day that are easy, delicious, meet all the points of a metabolically precise meal, and you can make in bulk. You're not going to get sick of eating them. Then you're going to write down all the ingredients so you've always got that shopping list ready to go. You're going to rotate the recipes every 2 or 3 days depending on your routine. So you want to make sure that if you have a different routine on a Wednesday to a Saturday, do you have a plan for both days? Otherwise, what happens is people go Monday to Friday, great, and then Saturday, Sunday, completely off the plan. So does your plan actually factor in that you have different routines on different days? It's really important to bring that into it as well. So action steps for lesson 4, choose the recipes you want to base your week around, all right? And don't choose lots of recipes, just choose maybe like 2 or 3, maybe 4. Write all the ingredients down. Make sure you're making the stuff in bulk so that you don't have to spend heaps of time in the kitchen. I think the key is to always spend the least amount of time possible in the kitchen, but for the biggest result. So when you find a recipe that you like, rather than just following it as it is, quadruple the ingredients list so you can make 4 times more in one go, because it's going to take the same amount of time whether you make it in 1 batch or 4 batches. Do it all in one go so that you spend the least amount of time possible in the kitchen and yet you get the most bang for your buck. That way you're just more time efficient.